Would Senator Kruger yield to a couple of questions?
Senator Kruger, will you yield to a couple of questions from Senator DeFrancisco?
Yes, I do, Mr. President.
Proceed.
Senator Kruger, since there's several budget bills, and I guess that 4 of them are live for today and a couple of them are high, just some general questions about the process. This particular group of budget bills, if passed today and tomorrow, all of them are on the supplemental calendar. Is it the position of the...
Excuse me, Senator DeFrancisco. May we have some quiet, please?
Is it the
Take
position...
your conversations in the hallway.
Is it the position of the majority that that would be a total budget at that point in time?
Yes, it would be.
Okay. Senator Kruger, would you yield to another question?
Yes, I do, Mr. President.
Yes.
Does that mean we have met a critical mass?
Through you, Mr. President, we've met a critical mass. I've looked through my crystal ball and every other acronym that you might want to come up with that I've used through this tortured process.
All right. Now, Senator Kruger, would you yield to another question?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Mr. President.
Continues to yield.
Assuming all of these budget bills pass, is it the position of the majority that this will be a balanced budget where the revenues would be sufficient to pay the cost of government as set forth in these budget bills?
Senator Kruger.
Through you, Mr. President, as Molly Goldberg would say, what a question. Of course.
That was before my time.
Senator DeFrancisco.
Not before mine.
Would Senator Kruger yield to another question?
Yes, I do, Mr. President.
Let me proceed.
Now, the governor has made a substantial point about the FMAT money, that $1 billion that is being anticipated. Is that $1 billion that's being anticipated, is that included in the majority's budget in order to balance the budget?
Senator Kruger.
Through you, Mr. President, yes.
Would Senator Kruger yield to another question?
Continue to yield.
Yes, I do, Mr.
May
President.
proceed.
Now, is there any contingency in this budget of the Senate majority and the Assembly majority that would provide for a contingency in case that FMAT money doesn't come in view of the fact that it seems to be dead, and if alive, only a portion of it may be voted upon
Senator Kruger.
by the federal government?
Through you, Mr. President, obviously we can't deal with speculation and conjecture. The budget is balanced based upon using the FMAP as we know it to be. There is no actual contingency plan in the budget, should it not be, but that is an unanticipated situation.
Senator Kruger, could you tell me if the majority parties in each house has gotten any kind of indication that it is likely that this $1 billion of FMAP money will be available?
Senator Kruger,
through you, Mr. President, once again, we have faith and confidence that our congressional delegation, which includes Senator Gillibrand and Senator Schumer, have a keen understanding of the importance of that money being part of our budget plan, our fiscal plan, and based upon that, that's the representation that's being made.
Would Senator Kruger yield to another question?
Yes, I do, Mr. President.
Senator Kruger yields.
Senator Kruger, assuming that this entire budget passes today and tomorrow, the legislative budget, can you tell me what the total amount of spending, that means all fund spending, would be for this year?
Senator Kruger.
This budget year coming up that's covered by this budget.
Through you, Mr. President, no, we do not have the number.
Senator DeFrancisco.
Senator Kruger, would you yield to another question?
Yes, I do, Mr. President.
Senator Kruger yields.
Senator Kruger, if you don't know the amount of spending, the total amount of spending in this budget, how do you know the budget is balanced by the amount of revenues that are projected from the revenue bill that's going to be voted on later?
Senator Kruger.
Through you, Mr. President, we will compute the spending plan, as well as the revenue plan, and I will have those numbers available for you within several hours.
Now, Senator Kruger, we've talked. Would you yield to another question?
Yes, I
Senator
do, Mr.
Kruger
President.
yields.
Now, we've talked about the 2007 reform bill that has obviously not been followed the last couple of years, but there is a requirement by Section 54A of that bill, sunshine reporting, preceding final action on all such appropriation bills. Members must be provided with a comprehensive cumulative report relating to all budget bills and legislation. Do we have that right now as we're about ready to vote for these bills?
Senator Kruger.
Mr. President, well, firstly, since we haven't voted on all the appropriation bills yet, then that would be not available. We will certainly have it available after all the appropriation bills are finalized by vote.
So, would Senator Kruger yield to another question?
Yes, I do, Mr.
Senator
President.
Kruger yields.
So you're saying that before a vote may be taken on the budget, we will not have that requirement of sunshine reporting that's in that reform bill of 2007?
Through you, Mr. President. Firstly, the document that you're talking about is for the appropriation bills. The final appropriation bill will not be available, it's high, and will not be voted on today.
Senator Kruger, yield to another question?
Yes, I do, Mr.
Senator
President.
Kruger yields.
Are you saying that we will have that report, the sunshine report, prior to voting on the appropriations bill?
Senator Kruger.
Through you, Mr. President, I don't know whether it's a sunshine report or a report, but you will have the information available.
Before we vote on the appropriation bill, is that correct?
You continue to yield, Senator
Yes, I do,
Kruger?
Mr. President. Before the final appropriation bill, yes.
Okay. In addition, would you answer another question, please?
Senator Kruger yields.
The Budget Reform Act of 2007 also requires that before a vote may be taken on a budget bill, all members must have a report on their desk that clearly summarizes the legislative changes to the executive budget. And it goes on to identify revisions in spending, revisions in revenue, workforce changes. In accordance with that Reform Act, do we have that document available?
Through you, Mr. President?
Senator Kruger.
No.